Storytime about how I found out that my mom fucked my boyfriend. So a little background information. My mom had me whenever she was 15. So we were always super close because we were so close in age. Well, during my senior year of high school, I started dating this guy. I was 18, he was 20. Well, after dating for a little bit, it was time for me to go off to college. And we didn't want to do long distance, so we kind of just cut it off. And instead of going to college, he just wanted to work, so he stayed in my hometown. And he was pretty close with my mom too, because during my school year, he got kicked out of his parents' house and came and stayed with us for like a month. And we're gonna call him Bryce. Well, I get a text from my mother the one day, and she's like, "Hey, honey, Bryce wants to know if he can come stay here. His parents kicked him out again." And I was like, "No, that's weird. Like, we're not even dating. What the fuck?" And her response was, "Well, honey, I'm a good person, so I'm not going to listen to what you say on this one. He's going to come stay with us." And I wasn't even living there at the time, and she was going to let him stay there. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my mom fucked my boyfriend. So like I said, my mom was trying to be a good person, so she let Bryce stay there. Well, then COVID hit, and my college was basically like, "Yeah, you guys can't stay here anymore, go somewhere else." So I packed up my things and I went home. And she told Bryce that he couldn't stay there anymore because I didn't feel comfortable with it. As she should. Well, then she started acting really weird. Like, she would leave the house at 2 in the morning and wouldn't come back until like 8 in the fucking morning. And the one night while she was making dinner, I saw a text from Bryce pop up on her phone. So I opened it, and there were no text messages except one from Bryce saying, "I won't, don't worry." But I didn't ask her about it because I trusted her. Well, the one night I was going to a party, and I was in charge of bringing the alcohol. Well, on my way to the party, I realized I forgot the alcohol. So I pull up to my house and I see Bryce's truck outside. So I went around to the window, and in the living room, I could see my mom and Bryce fucking on the couch. I took a video, put it on Facebook, and after that, she was labeled a homewrecker in my small town. After that, I found out they had a whole relationship. Storytime about the girl who was absolutely obsessed with me in high school. So it was my junior year in high school, and I'm just going to tell you guys the first story of how I knew that she was absolutely obsessed with me and wanted to be me. Well, I had been dating this guy for like a month, and I sent him nudes. Well, my nudes got spread around the school. And everybody knew they were mine until this one girl, and we're gonna call her Addie, started saying that they were hers. I guess one of my friends was talking about it in class, and they were like, "OMG, did you hear that her nudes got leaked?" AKA mine. And Addie was sitting at the same table, and she said, "No, those are my nudes." And at first, I thought this girl was just trying to be nice. I was like, "Oh, well, that's nice of her, you know. Like, maybe she's just trying to say that so that way nobody will bully me, I guess." Well, the one day I texted her about it. And I was like, "Hey, like, you don't have to do that. It's fine. I'll take responsibility for it. I did it." And she was like, "What are you talking about? Those are my nudes." Like for part 2. Part 2 about the girl who was obsessed with me. So like I said, she basically told me that those were her nudes, even though I took the pictures and I knew they were mine. But I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to argue with her. Well, then I get a text from my boyfriend. And he goes, "What the fuck? You're so weird. Why would you send me somebody else's nudes?" And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck? And I tried to explain to him that I had no fucking clue why this girl was saying they were hers. But then he said that it was weird as fuck, and he broke up with me. So like a week later, I see them walking around school together. And my friends tell me that they're now dating. And I really wasn't that mad about it. I was like, okay, maybe that's the only way that she could think of to get a boyfriend. Well, I forgot that my Instagram was logged in on his phone because he had super bad trust issues and wanted to make sure I wasn't cheating on him. So I text him and I'm like, "Hey, can you take my Instagram off your phone?" And I saw that he read my text message, but I got no response. Well, a week later, you guys are never gonna guess what fucking happened, like for part 3. Part 3 about the girl who was obsessed with me. So like I said, I texted him and I got no response back. So I run into him the next day at school. And I'm like, "Hey, did you get my text?" And he's like, "Text about what?" And I was like, "Taking my Instagram off your phone?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, Addie did it, don't worry." And I didn't think anything of it because, you know, I'm like, oh well, she's done torturing me. Well, I was very wrong. So in my first period, I went to go sit with my group of friends, because all 3 of us had that class together. And when I walk in, I realize that Addie is sitting in my seat. So I pull up a chair to the table, and they were all ignoring me and texting each other right next to me. So I was like, okay, what's wrong? And one of my friends goes, "Oh, nothing, just the fact that you DM'd Gigi and I's boyfriends, saying that we were whores and that they should date you." By the way, Gigi was my other friend. And after that, this bitch Addie has the nerve to make the comment, "That's really fucked up. Why would you do that?" So then I beat her ass and lost all my friends. Crazy ass story time about how I almost got away with sneaking out. A little background information. It was the summer of my sophomore year in high school, and my parents are super strict. Like, they had a tracker on my phone, they had a tracker in my car, they have cameras all over my house, and my curfew was 7:30 even on weekends. Well, this boy that I really liked was throwing this party. And I begged my parents to go, and of course they said no. So my friends and I came up with this elaborate plan on how I was going to sneak out of my house and go to this party. Well, one of my friend's brothers had his license. So at 11 o'clock, after everybody fell asleep, they parked in my neighbor's driveway. Before everybody fell asleep, I made sure to put my ladder up to my window from my bathroom. And because it was in the back of the house, there were really no cameras around there. Well, skip ahead, I couldn't get down the ladder. So my friend's brother had to come around and try to move the ladder. But I was still too scared to go down the ladder by myself. So her brother crawled up the ladder. And once he was on the roof, he tried to help me get down. Well, then he fell like for part two. Part two about how I almost got away with sneaking out. So like I said, he fell off the roof. Let me elaborate on that. So while I was going down the ladder, my foot slipped. So he grabbed a hold of my hand and I started falling along with the ladder. So then he grabbed a hold of the ladder, tried to pull it back, but when he did that, he flipped over the ladder. Well, he fell through this glass table that was on the deck that was around my pool, and everybody in my house woke up. My dad came running outside. Oh, and her brother wasn't moving after that. So my dad called an ambulance, and my friend who was with her brother had to call her parents, and pretty much after that, I got grounded for a full year. I didn't have a phone or anything. They took my car away. They also drilled my windows shut. My friend didn't get grounded because her parents knew that she was going to this party. Oh, and her brother was in a coma for 3 months.
Saw you come in until you turned me around. I used to think I was nothing, but look at this love we found. So give me your hand like you took mine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh yeah, no more tears. Oh yeah, no more tears. Take that chance, we'll be fine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh yeah, no more tears. Oh yeah, no more tears.
Okay, so story time about how my best friend became jealous of me. Alright, so a little background information. I was 16 and in 10th grade, aka my sophomore year of high school. But we are going to backtrack a little bit to when I was in 8th grade. So when I was in 8th grade, I became best friends with this girl, Camille. We became best friends right off the bat. We would hang out every day. But sadly, I was known as the ugly best friend. Yeah, love that for me. Anytime I had a crush on a boy and I would start talking to them, they immediately would ask me to hook them up with Camille, because Camille was known as the prettier one, of course. And any of the boys who knew that they were not good looking enough for Camille to like them, they would try to hook up with me because they thought that I would be easier, like an easy target. Like they would want to date Camille, but they would want to hook up with me if Camille didn't want to date them. And there were 3 reasons why they thought it would be easier with me. 1, I got no attention from boys. None whatsoever. The only attention I got is when they wanted to hook up with Camille, as we already established. Number 2, they thought that if I got any attention from a boy, that I would do anything at the drop of a hat. They were wrong. And number 3, I knew I was the ugly friend because they would tell me every time to my face that I was the ugly friend. For example, the one day Camille and I are hanging out at her house. It's storming outside, so we really can't go out and do anything. And you know, I thought we were gonna do what we would have done before, which was do each other's makeup, paint our nails, you know, watch a movie. I was wrong. Camille says, what if we invite Adam and Tommy over? She goes, I know you don't like them, but like, can we please invite them over? Like, I'm so bored right now. So then I tell her that my stomach hurts and I want to go home because I just didn't want to be around them. They made me really upset, you know, they would hurt my feelings and they didn't care at all. And the worst part was Camille knew that I hated them. Like, she really did. Like, they had the audacity to make fun of me in front of her, and she would literally be like, Adam, stop it, you're the one who's ugly, you're the one who's ugly, Adam, and then would proceed to give me backhand compliments to make me feel better. But I knew they were backhand compliments. So yeah. So after I tell her my stomach hurts, she goes, fine, they don't have to come over. But she tried making me feel bad by like huffing and puffing. And at that point, I felt like I was a burden, which was really annoying because it's like, I told you I would go home. Like, why do I need to be here? So that way you can make fun of me in front of them and feel better about yourself? I didn't need to be there for that. So her and I go up to her room and we do each other's hair and our makeup. And then guess what happens? Camille's like, oh my God, the text that I sent them saying not to come over didn't come through. Like, it didn't go through. They didn't get it. And they're 5 minutes away. Do I look dumb? I mean, maybe with the headband, but do I look fucking dumb, bitch? No, I don't. And I knew I wasn't fucking dumb because she pulled this shit so many fucking times with me. Where she'll be like, hey, are you okay if like Adam and Tommy come over? And I'm like, no, like I don't want to hang out with them. And she's like, oh, like they're already on their way. Like, and I don't want to tell them that they can't come because that's like so rude. And the worst part is that was the day that like her dad was supposed to take me home. So like she knew that I didn't have a ride home, even if I wanted to leave. So they show up and then they're like, oh my God, like you look even uglier with makeup.
Emotional, damn it.
Just a little side note that I want to put in here. This like bullying went on like for a few years while I was friends with her, and I still have self-esteem issues till this day from this friendship. But you know what? I would never treat her any different because of how they treated me, you know? Like, I wouldn't, like, be mean to her, you know, or make fun of her in front of them like she would do to me. Because I was just, like, never that kind of person. And I know you guys are probably like, well, why wouldn't you just get new friends? Probably because I developed crippling social anxiety during this. Like, throughout all the trauma I went through. That's probably why. Because if I'm getting made fun of literally by my own best friend, that's just like, no. So fast forward to the summer before my sophomore year in high school. Camille went to this summer camp for the whole summer. I, on the other hand, did not want to go, so I stayed home. But I was super excited because my big sister came home from college and I had told her about everything that was pretty much going on in my life. Literally like everything. Like about the fucking boys making fun of me, Camille with her side comments and her jokes and how Camille wouldn't stick up for me and stuff like that, you know? And of course my older sister was very pissed off about this. I mean, side note, I'm an older sister of 3. If someone were to fucking treat my sister like that and she told me about it, because I know that sometimes, you know, like I wouldn't like to tell my parents or my sisters about things that were going on, it would be on site the next time that I fucking saw her. But yeah, so just to give you a little description of what I looked like back then, I still had a lot of baby chub, which was very annoying. I had really bad acne and my hair wasn't brown, but it also wasn't blonde either. It was just, I wasn't it. I wasn't. So my sister, wanting to help me and wanting to make me feel better and just more comfortable in my own skin, she kind of did like a little summer glow up magic on me because everybody else was having these amazing glow ups and here I was. But backtrack a little bit, before that even happened, I had went to my parents and I told them that I was feeling a little bit depressed, and they even started to notice it too, which I was thankful for because when I told them, they had already told me that they made an appointment for me to go and see a psychiatrist. So I went and saw a psychiatrist. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, you know, and I started having weekly appointments with my therapist, but also they prescribed me some medicine, which I was really scared to take at first because I was like, you know, I don't want to be a different person. I just don't want to have these issues, right? Well, after being put on that medicine, that caused me to lose all of my baby fat. Literally all of it. It was not planned. Definitely do not recommend. That is not the healthy way to lose weight. And I actually ended up in the hospital a few years later because of how skinny I was. Anyways, so after that, my sister took me to Sephora. We got some skincare stuff. We got some new makeup. She was going to teach me how to do my makeup. And this was like a real good like bonding thing for me and my sister. So I was super happy. She taught me how to do my makeup, super natural, light, and pretty, you know. And then she also took me to go get my hair done. Sis spent about like $400 on me that summer, which was beyond nice of her because it was her own money. She worked 24/7. But I got some cute blonde highlights, and the only annoying thing about this shit was y'all probably already know the struggles of buying 10 million different face washes and none of them work. So that whole summer we literally spent weeks trying different fucking trying face washes to see if any of them would work for me. Finally, I'm not even joking, like a month before school, we finally found a face wash that like actually helped my acne go away, and like a skin routine that actually like, you know, did something for me. So I was extremely happy about that. But now since I lost all my baby weight, I had no clothes. So in our attic, we had like a bunch of bins of like stuff from when we were kids. Like we kept all our Barbie stuff up there, you know, and we went up there and she grabbed a bunch of her clothes that she had whenever she was in high school. And my sister was a skinny mini, so I tried them on, they fit. So I had a bunch of new clothes. Everything I felt like was just like working out at this time, you know, even though I was kind of scared for whenever Camille got home because like I hadn't seen her in a while, you know. So fast forward, I feel like a brand new bitch, right, as I should. Literally the only thing that was like holding me back from like, you know, fully blossoming was the fact that I still had braces on and I had to have them on for a year longer before I could get them off. But other than that, I was glowing. So it's the week before school starts. My sister already left to go back to college. She went early because her boyfriend was gonna visit her there. I was just extremely happy that she came home this year because the year before she did not come home. So anyways, like I said, Camille came home and then she asked if I wanted to have a sleepover the night before school and we could go to school together in the morning. I'm like, yeah, cool, that's fine, you know. Excited but nervous to see her. I think honestly my anxiety came from her. I don't know, maybe I'm just blaming my problems on other people, you know, but I was just super nervous to see her. I had the butterflies in my stomach and like it's not because I missed her or anything, it was just because I don't know. And we literally have not seen or talked to each other the whole summer because her parents would rather send her to a summer camp than like have her home for the whole summer so that way they could go and travel and shit like that. So I already had my makeup done because I went out to eat with my family, you know, the night before the first day of school. So we all went out to eat, so my makeup was done and everything. And my dad drops me off at her house. So I go knock on the door. And when she opens the door, she looks me up and down and goes, "What happened to you?" Like, oh, like, it's nice to see you too. Missed you too. Like, what a bitch. So we go inside and I pretty much tell her about how like my sister took me under her wing this summer and pretty much did all this stuff for me. And she goes, "Oh, well, that must be nice, but I miss the old you." Like, girl, I've been in your house for 5 fucking minutes. What do you mean you miss the old me? I have not fucking changed or anything like that. So at this point, I start to question myself. I'm like, am I different? Even though I should have just been like, okay, well, that's your opinion. Because honestly, like, I'm happier than ever right now. Like, I feel comfortable in my skin. I'm way more confident than I've ever been in my freaking life. Now, to give you a little, you know, insight on what Camille looked like, Camille was naturally pretty, like really freaking pretty. She had long brown hair, she had blue eyes, she had naturally straight teeth, and her skin was so clear and like just glowy. She just looked good. So when I started to think, oh, like, you know, maybe she's jealous, I snapped out of it real quick and I was like, bitch, Camille's not jealous of you. That's literally like, you know, what went through my head. So fast forward to the morning. I had already showered and did my hair the day before. So while Camille was taking a shower, I did my makeup and fixed my hair. And it took me about, I would say 30 minutes to get ready. And then Camille comes into the room and she's like, "Ooh, you're really not gonna take a shower?" I literally cannot do anything freaking right. She's like, "Hey, it's the first day of school. Like, you need to take a freaking shower. That's so gross." And then she goes, "And I don't know what your sister told you about makeup, but you're wearing way too much." As she looks me up and down like, so then of course, you know, little Camille is getting ready. We have about like 45 more minutes before we have to be at school. And she's like, "Can you do my makeup?" Girl! Didn't you? No. Fuck Camille. Fuck her. And at this point, I was already feeling uncomfortable. I was feeling hated on. I was feeling like, you know, I looked like shit, even though I really didn't. Like, I looked so freaking good. And yet, of course, I let this girl bring me down, as I always did. So I said, no, I only really know how to put makeup on myself. And also, I don't want to put too much makeup on you. And then she was like, "Yeah, you're right. Yours looks a little cakey anyways." Oh my God. Like, I feel dumb looking back on this now, but like, you live and you learn. So fast forward, we're on the bus and she decides that she's gonna be a hating ass bitch once again. So now she decides to come after how much I weigh or the fact that I had lost weight. She goes, you lost a lot of weight. It looks unhealthy and really unnatural. So then I roll my eyes and she's like, what? Ha ha ha. Like, I just don't want anybody making fun of you or saying that you're anorexic. I mean, you know how Tommy and Adam are. Like, first of all, I don't like them and I'm starting not to like you. Literally, she's a hating ass bitch. And just a little side note here, I was not skin and bones, okay? I was actually finally at a good weight for my age and for my height. I was only 5'2". So, you know, we get to school and Tommy and Adam are waiting at Camille's locker. And as soon as we got to the locker, bam, both of them would not stop staring at me. Literally, like they were just like, while I was talking, or like Camille was talking. Like, Camille was like talking the whole time. They didn't give her no eye contact. No, bitch, they were fucking looking at me. Cause I could feel their eyes like burning into the back of my fucking soul. And that's whenever I was like, oh fuck, here we go. They're gonna start bullying me for doing my makeup now. Camille goes, I don't know why everybody's so obsessed with you. Like, you're still the same freaking person. You just lost weight and you don't have acne anymore. Ouch. So Camille and I barely had any classes together, right? But during lunch, I had 3 people tell me that I was gross because I didn't shower. I was anorexic. Well, actually, they didn't tell me this, right? They just said it loud enough so that way I could hear it, and I obviously knew it wasn't about, it was about me. So I text Camille about it, right? And she's like, I told you people were gonna be like this, because it just magically, yeah, no. So fast forward a few days, I start ignoring her and I start to make new friends because I'm not dealing with this. Like, I've dealt with it for too long. After talking with my therapist too, they were like, sis, yeah, drop them, wash your hands, do what you need to do. Because fuck Camille, fuck Adam, and fuck Tommy. They were ignorant people who literally, they deserved each other. Like, you can't just be nice to somebody out of the blue because, I don't know, yeah, that's not how that works. So a week later, I post a selfie on Snapchat because I looked cute, right? I looked cute. Well, Camille didn't like this one bit because I used to be the person, whenever Camille would want to take pictures with me, I would not want to get my picture taken. I would tell her I didn't want to be in the picture. So she swipes up and I go on to Snapchat and there's a whole fucking essay in the chat. And I'm pretty much just gonna like sum it up for you guys real quick. She goes, I don't know what's been going on with you, but you're acting like such a bitch just because you changed your hair and you got skinnier. And you don't have acne anymore. The Kay that I knew hated girls like this. Like, the old you would have never posted anything like this. It was a picture of my face. And now you think you're too good for us? I'll remember this whenever you come crawling back because you can't make any real friends. So after that, I literally just said, okay. And the next day I wake up to go to school and I go on my phone and I have a text from Camille that says, people are saying you're pregnant. Okay. But I'm skinny enough to the point where I look anorexic. Okay. Like, girl, we all know who made this shit up. The same bitch that's been hating since she fucking got home from summer camp. And then Tommy and Adam were texting me, seeing if I wanted to hang out. Blocked. And I'm not even joking you, this went on throughout the whole rest of high school. Literally. Like, she would text me during the summertime asking to be friends again and stuff like that, and I would just never answer her. But like, the rumors were non-stop. They caused me so much damage, like to my self-esteem and everything. It was just not it. Storytime, my boyfriend beat up his ex-girlfriend because she tried to kill me. So it was my sophomore year in high school and I had just gotten with this guy who was fresh out of a relationship. And let me tell you a little bit about his ex-girlfriend. So before him and I even started dating, him and his ex-girlfriend were together for like 2 years. And guys, this girl was fucking psychotic. Like, let me give you a quick example. Last year, I had a class with him and her, and the teachers assigned partners for this one project. Well, her boyfriend got paired up with this other girl. And anybody who would even talk to her boyfriend would get jumped by her and 8 of her friends. So his girlfriend starts being buddy-buddy with this girl. And his girlfriend goes, oh, do you want to come to the bathroom to hit my dab pen? So the girl says yeah, thinking that she's being all nice and shit. So they both go to the bathroom and they're gone for like 25 minutes. So I asked to go to the bathroom because I want to see what's going on. So I walk into the auditorium bathroom and nobody's really around that bathroom. And this bitch is getting beat the fuck up. Like for part 2. Okay, part 2. Okay, so like I said, I walk in and this bitch is getting her shit rocked. Like there were like 5 girls in there beating the shit out of her. All of them just look at me, so I walk out and go back to the classroom. And the one girl went to the hospital and the other girl got suspended. So back to present day. So after school that day, I get a ride with him and his friends to his house. Well, as we're all driving to his house, we realize that his ex-girlfriend's car is right behind us. And it's literally her and all of her friends. And at this point, my boyfriend's really fed up with her shit. Because she keeps following me around school, texting me saying she's gonna kill me, saying he got her pregnant, always says that he's been cheating on me with her. So my boyfriend pulls over the car, and at this point, I think it's a trap. I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna let me get beat the fuck up. Well, he tells me to stay in the car. He gets out and walks over to her driver's door and tells her to get out of the car. So her and all her friends get out, and one of her friends starts punching him. While he's distracted with that, his ex runs over to the car, opens the door, and pulls out a fucking knife. Like for part 3. Okay, part 3. She fucking has a knife up to my neck, screaming at me. And I'm staying quiet as fuck because I do not want to get my throat slit by this bitch. So all I see is my boyfriend rip this bitch out of the car and start stomping her in the fucking ground. And whenever he went and ripped her out of the car, the knife like slashed my leg open, so there's fucking blood everywhere. And we're like at the beginning of his cul-de-sac, so all the fucking neighbors are outside watching him stomp this bitch into the ground. And then one of her friends comes around the other side of the car, grabs me by my hair, rips me out of the car, starts beating the shit out of me. So then one of his friends starts beating up that bitch too. So obviously the cops were called. My boyfriend went to jail. She also went to jail. And after that happened, my parents maybe moved schools. But after that, word got around that they were dating again. Good luck to the next bitch. Story time about how I got catfished and almost kidnapped. So because I just turned 18, I thought about signing up for a few dating apps. So I did. I matched with this really cute guy named Chris. And we chatted on the app for like 3 weeks back and forth. I would ask him to FaceTime, but he would always make up some lame excuse. Yes, ladies, there's a video dating app coming out soon, so no more lame excuses for sus boys. Anyways, so finally after asking him a bunch of times to hang out, we finally made plans to meet up for dinner. He gave me the address to the place and it was like 20 minutes from where I lived. And he told me that he was going to be wearing a baseball cap, and I told him that I was going to be wearing a white shirt and green jeans. So I took an Uber and got there at like 6 o'clock, but when I got in there, I didn't see anybody with a baseball cap on. While I'm looking around, all of a sudden somebody taps me on the shoulder. So I turn around and it's this older guy wearing a baseball cap, and he goes, "Oh, hi, I'm Chris." So I'm definitely feeling super sus at this point, but I'm too fucking nice to be like, "Ooh, get the fuck away from me." So I figured I might as well get a free meal out of this. So we sat down to eat like for part 2. Okay, part 2 of how I got catfished and almost kidnapped. So we get seated, we ordered our food, and I start talking to him. You know, I was just trying to be nice and finish my meal, but it was literally so creepy. The whole time he's like, "Wow, you're so beautiful. How are you still single? Yada, yada, yada." I honestly just wanted to eat and leave so bad. So here I am texting my friend that I just got fucking catfished. And while I was going in and out of my purse, I dropped my phone on the floor. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, why the hell is she telling us that part about the phone? Well, because I'm pretty sure that he put something in my drink. No, like he 100% put something in my fucking drink. So I hurry up and eat my food and drink my drink because I just wanted to get the hell out of there. And my drink tasted totally fine, like there was no bitterness or anything. So while he was getting the check, I went to the bathroom to call my friend. And as soon as I get into the bathroom, I start feeling so off. And no, it was not my anxiety from sus Chris. I also felt like I was going to throw up. And my friend wasn't picking up at all. So I tried sharing my location with her, which I usually never do, like for part 3. Part 3 of how I got catfished and almost kidnapped. So like I said, I shared my location with her, but it took me forever because I had no control over my body whatsoever. And I was throwing up uncontrollably. So she immediately knew that something was wrong because I wouldn't just randomly share my location with her. So that's when I blacked out, and I really only remember a few things that happened after that. Like I remember being out in the parking lot and him walking me to a car, which I thought was my Uber. So I remember waking up in the car and looking at the dashboard and it being 9 o'clock at night. So I start to wake up a little bit and I realize that I'm in somebody else's car and I can't find my phone anywhere. I'm pretty sure I blacked out again after that, because the last thing I remember is a police officer standing over me and shining a flashlight in my face. So apparently there's security footage of him pulling off into a gas station and putting me in the trunk, and he was able to make it all the way to South Carolina from West Virginia. So my best friend shared my location with authorities. I want to spread awareness that things like this actually do happen. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000,000. So click the link in my bio for a safer option of online dating. Love you guys. Storytime about how I found out that my boyfriend was trying to get with another girl on Valentine's Day. Okay, there's a lot that goes into this story time, so let me break it down for you real quick. I was a sophomore and my boyfriend and I had been dating for about 4 months now. And he was a junior. Well, there was this girl that he was for some reason obsessed with in his Spanish class. She was a freshman. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, well, how did you know he was obsessed with her? Well, he would Snapchat this girl 24/7. Even his friends told me he was obsessed with her. So I talked to him and I told him I was uncomfortable with how much he was talking to this girl. And he said, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'll block her. Now, I didn't ask him to do that, but it made me feel more confident in how he felt about me. Well, Valentine's Day comes around, and we didn't talk all day until he came to pick me up. I wished him a happy Valentine's Day and got left undelivered. So we get to the restaurants, and we decide to put our phones at the end of the table so that way we would be more focused on each other. Well, he goes to the bathroom, and then I see this name pop up on his phone. Like for part 2. Part 2. So, like I said, I saw this name on his phone, and there was something special about this name. So, whenever I kept streaks, I would put the word streak, and then an emoji, and then the person's name. And he got the idea that instead of keeping her name, he would put it as streak. So I was like, that's really fucking weird. And at first I was like, what the fuck? So I opened his phone, and what do you know? It's from that girl. And she was replying back to a big paragraph that he sent her. And we had school that same day. So at 6:30 in the morning, this girl got a big paragraph from my boyfriend about how she's such a beautiful, amazing girl and that she deserves somebody who's going to take her out and buy her flowers and stuff. And how if she wanted to go out to dinner, let him know. He took an extremely long time in the bathroom, so the waiter came to our table. So I ordered $300 worth of food for myself. So when he came back, I told him that I had to go call my mom, and I left. And he was stuck with a $400 bill. Storytime, my boyfriend caught me cheating on him with his older brother. A little background information. I was a sophomore in high school, and him and I had been dating for about 3 months. And every day after school, I would go over to his house. Sometimes he would be late coming home, though, because he would have soccer practice. But I would go to his house anyways because I was friends with his sister, who was also in the same grade as me. Well, his older brother was a senior in high school. Well, the one day I went over his house, and his sister wasn't home. She was tutoring at school or something. And neither were his parents. So I texted my boyfriend saying that I was just going to go home. And he said, no, stay, I'll be there in like 30 minutes. While I was sitting on the couch, his brother comes downstairs. So he comes and sits on the couch next to me and puts on a movie. And he could have sat anywhere because they had a big ass couch, but he sat right next to me. So we start talking, and a little bit into the movie, he gets closer to me. And one thing led to another, and then we were in his room. And literally 2 minutes later, we heard the front door open. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend caught me cheating on him with his older brother. So we heard the door open downstairs, and at this point we were both naked. So I ran to my boyfriend's room as fast as I could, and as soon as he came upstairs, he saw me without any clothes on. So then I had to play it off like I was ready to do the nasty with him. So for the next 2 weeks straight, I was going to my boyfriend's house and doing the nasty with his brother while he was at soccer practice. Well, the one day after his brother and I did the nasty, I fell asleep in his brother's bed. So my boyfriend came upstairs, and he didn't see me anywhere, so he was knocking on his brother's door. And we didn't hear anything because we were sleeping, so he just opened the door. And I woke up and he was screaming at both of us. So him and his brother got into a fight, like literally fist fighting. I was trying to break it up, but then I was also trying to put clothes on. And when my boyfriend saw me trying to get dressed, he took my clothes and told me to get out. And when I wouldn't get out because I didn't have clothes, so he literally grabbed me and threw me outside. And then he came back and threw a towel at me, so I had to walk home with only a towel. Story time, my parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So a little background information. My parents are super strict, especially my dad. And on top of that, my dad thought that races should not mix. One of his sayings was, you don't see a blue jay fucking a pigeon. AKA, white people and black people should not be together. Sounds fucking stupid. Yeah, I know. Anyways, like I was saying, it was my freshman year of high school and I had been dating this boy for 2 months. And of course he was white. And we had to keep it super low-key because if any of my friends found out about it, they would have fucking told my dad. Now when I look back at it, those weren't good friends at all. Anyways, every Friday, my boyfriend and I would go to the movies. And we would go to this theater that was 45 minutes away because nobody that I knew would be there. The only person that knew that I was dating a white boy was my sister. Well, the one day after the movies, I couldn't get a ride home, so I had to get a ride home with him and his family. And as soon as I pulled up, my parents were waiting outside, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So like I said, my sister couldn't come pick me up, so I had to get a ride with him and his family. And what do you know, as soon as we pull up to my fucking house, my dad is standing on the porch waiting for me. So I told his parents to drive around the block one more time while I called my sister and told her to distract my dad. So as we're driving up to my house again, I see that my dad isn't on the porch. So I run into the house before he could see me getting out of a white boy's car. So a few months go by and we're still dating, very low key. And the one night at 3 in the morning, I get woken up by my sister. And she says, you better delete any pictures that you have of you and you-know-who off your phone. And you better come up with the story right now. Because one of your friends took pictures of you walking with him in the hallways and kissing him behind the stairwell at school. So after I deleted everything off my phone, a few seconds later, my dad came into my room screaming his head off. He was so mad. I ended up getting my ass beat. And I also got grounded from my phone for 4 months. But after that, my mom ended up leaving my dad. And then him and I got back together. Story time about my worst trip off LSD. So one of the kids in my friend group was about to leave for Arizona. And we would always talk about how we need to trip together before he leaves. And anytime that I would trip off acid, I would go to my one plug. Well, he ran out, so we had to go to somebody else. And I've never tried this kid's stuff before. But I just said, fuck it, YOLO. Which should not have been my motto at the time. But it was. So that night, we're in the car, and one of our friends is driving because he's sober, obviously. And before I put the tab on my tongue, I started to get really nervous. And I have never felt like that before I've taken acid. But I kind of just said fuck it, and I put it on my tongue. So we go pick up 2 more people that I'm not really close with. So then we make our way over to our other friend's apartment. And I'm kind of feeling it, but not really. But then as soon as we walk into that apartment, I start tripping balls. And you know, everything was going good, but then my dumb ass decided to look in the fucking mirror. And as soon as I look in the mirror, I see myself smile back at me, like for part 2. Okay, part 2. So like I said, I look in the mirror and I see myself smiling back at me. And that's whenever everything went south so quick. I sat on the bed, tried to pull myself together because I didn't want to make a fucking scene in front of everybody. But then I got caught in this fucking loop. And if you don't know what the loop is, then I'm going to tell you what it is. It's basically where you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then I started looking around at everybody and it looked like their faces were melting. One of my friends got up off his chair, walked to the other side of the room, and I watched him do that. But when I look back over at the fucking chair, he was still sitting there. So I looked at my one friend that was sober, who I was actually really close with, and I think he saw the look in my eye and he was like, do you want to leave now? And I just shook my head, yeah, like I could not deal with that shit anymore. So we go to his car and then we drive to my boyfriend's house. Because I could not go home. I would have got crucified. Well, we get in the house and as soon as his mom sees me, she knows that something's wrong, like for part 3. Okay, part 3. So like I said, I walked in and she knew that something was wrong with me right away. Because she was like, oh, I have a letter from your boyfriend. And usually I would run up, grab it, read it really quickly. Because I would only get like 1 letter a week. But instead I ran downstairs because her face was fucking melting. So 5 minutes later, she has to come downstairs and help me get dressed into my pajamas because I forgot how to dress myself. I didn't want to be left alone that night, so my friend stayed in the basement with me. So he went and tried to go to sleep. But he couldn't because I was watching Butterfly Effect for 8 hours straight. Like that was the only thing that could calm me down. But I still don't even know all the freaking words to it, which is weird. Like, he would try to change the video, and somehow I end up back to Butterfly Effect. And then he tried to kiss me. So he left the next morning because he had to go to work, which was at like 11 a.m. And I took this tab at 8 p.m. the day before. So I was getting texts like, where are you? You're supposed to be home now. So I had to go home and act normal in front of everybody while I'm still tripping balls. And I also got grounded for coming home late because I could not come home at the right time because I was tripping so hard. And this lasted for about 24 hours.